Coach Klieman, will you go first, and then we'll move on to Coach Doeren after you.
You bet. Well, we're excited to be here. Thanks to the Florida Citrus Sports Organization, Steve Hogan, for the invite to come to playing a great bowl game against a great opponent in North Carolina State. I know our guys are extremely excited about the opportunity. K-State's never been to Florida before for a bowl game, and it's a lot better than being in Manhattan with the weather. We had some snow last night there, I understand, and so the guys had a little sunshine. Sun came out yesterday, which was nice. We've had good practices down here, and you know, college football's changed a little bit, so you're going to see some different guys for us that maybe aren't the household names that you've seen, but that's kind of the world we're in right now, and I'm excited about a lot of the veteran kids that will play and honor those guys in 2023, and we'll get a little glimpse into 2024 as well with a number of young guys that are going to play as well. So. Excited for our guys to have the opportunity and appreciate all the hospitality everybody's given us here.
Thank you, Coach. Coach Doeren?
Yeah, second everything he said. It's a great experience, and for the players, all the activities that they've had an opportunity to be a part of. I think the way that y'all set up this itinerary, there was a great blend of free time and allowing us to be flexible with our work time. I know the families really appreciate all the hospitality we've gotten, the children being able to go around the theme parks and just see the joy in all our families. Yesterday was incredible. I thought the opportunity to serve in the community was great to have that as well with the teams. And just can't thank you all enough for bringing NC State down here. We've been wanting to play in this bowl game for a number of years. And so thankful to get to play in it and opportunity to play against Chris and his team. I have great respect for Coach and for that program. I think you guys know I'm from Kansas, and growing up in Kansas City, was able to really watch that program with Coach Snyder take off, not once but twice, and have so much respect for what he built there and what Coach has continued to build. And, you know, two similar football programs that really believe in fundamentals and toughness, togetherness. And I think, you know, when you watch both our teams play, they play hard. They're teams that play till the end. They fight. They're physical. I know our guys are excited to play, not just because we're playing a great opponent, but just an opportunity to, you know, go out and compete one more time with a group of young men for us that really came together in the middle of a season and won 5 straight games to elevate our program into the top 20 and kind of out of a real tough middle of the season into a great finish. And so an opportunity to continue to do that. And like Coach said, you know, there's going to be some players out there that are getting, you know, expanded roles. Some of them their first time being in some of the roles they have. And so excited for them. You know, they've served our team in other ways, and now they get a chance to be in that role with, you know, Peyton Wilson not playing, to get to see now Caden Fordham play a lot more for us, a young man that we're really excited to see out there. And, you know, for this team, a chance to really play one more game together. And for the seniors that we have that are playing, an opportunity to honor them and do it on a great stage. So we do appreciate, you know, the opportunity, the hospitality, and obviously everything that y'all have done for us down here.
All right, thank you, Coach. If you have a question, we'll raise your hand. We'll get a mic to you. We'll start in the front row here with Kyle.
Happy New Year, gentlemen. Kyle Nash with the three-point conversion. Coach Klieman alluded to about the state of college football a little bit, but this question will be for both of you. What do you think, or how did you think you guys represent parity in college football? You two being in this bowl game, you two having lost to a team that participated in a conference championship by 3 points, both on your schedules. How do you guys represent the parity in college football, and how much do you think the portal and all that has made that happen for the sport?
Well, I think Dave hit it. We're both the developmental programs, and you know, every game that we play, we feel we have a great chance to win, and our kids feel that. And I think that's the biggest thing is when you have guys that are in the program for 4, 5, and 6 years, it tells you an awful lot about the character of those guys, the competitiveness of those guys, and we're going to continue to see parity in college football. And yeah, there's people changing addresses all the time, but you know, your core of your foundation, your core of your team, needs to be there for 4 or 5 years now. The 6-year guys are going to be gone pretty soon, but the 4 and 5 year guys, that's what we're trying to build at K-State. I'm sure it's similar at North Carolina State. Build the culture with your 4 or 5 year guys and blend in the young people and have that great foundation. But I think both of us feel like on any stage, our kids are going to compete their tails off and have an opportunity to win every game.
Yeah, it's unique, when you get into your team room in January. I know last year for us, we had 43 new players on our football team, including all the walk-ons we added. And so, that's a massive challenge when you talk about building continuity and chemistry, and you do lean on your elder players to teach them what the program's about. And I think that's what's cool about this game. You don't have 2 teams playing, you have 2 football programs. We've been winning for a long time, and so have they. And so there's a standard of behavior and expectation of how we work and how we practice, how we lift. And our older players hold the younger players and the new players to that standard and try to elevate it every year. And it'll be no different this year. And I think every coach in college football has the same, challenge and opportunity. You used to have, your 20, 25 seniors leave your team, and you get 20, 25 new guys, and you just kept it rolling. It's a lot different now. It's doubled, really in your outflow and your inflow. And so how you bring them all together, I think, is really the magic, that you have to have. And it helps when you have a foundation that's so strong like these 2 teams.
All right, we'll take one in the back, and then we'll go to the second right here.
Coach Klieman, I know you spoke on it a little bit. Just kind of talk about the impact that Coach Klein made in the short time that he's in the coach's room, and then kind of talk about how Coach Riley's kind of stepping up and doing offensive line and the interim offensive coordinator, and how he's doing that.
Yeah, obviously Colin did some great things for us here. Had another opportunity and took that, and great respect for CK. But now it's time to move forward, and Coach Riley's done a really good job, putting him in an interim role of the OC. I've been with Riles since 2012. We were assistants together at North Dakota State, brought him here in 18. So I've been over a decade with this guy. I think he's the best offensive line coach in the country, and he earned the right to have that title for this game and to be out in front of the guys. And so I'm excited about what he's going to bring, and I know the players are excited. It tells you everything about Connor Riley when you see the amount of 6-year guys that came back. They were all in the O-line. We had Seth, and we had a couple other guys in Daniel Green, but most of those guys were O-linemen. That tells you everything you need to know about Connor, and so excited for his opportunity.
Another one for you, Chris. What would you say now that bowl prep is just about over? What's impressed you most about the way Avery's handled his situation going into his first start?
The fact that there's not a quarterback coach really in the room. There's some people that are really helping him, and he's very calm. Everybody knows he's a competitor, but his leadership has really taken off, and it's neat to watch him interact with some of the older wide receivers and O-linemen, and they believe in him. We believe in him. We trust him. He's going to make some mistakes. He's a young player, but he's going to make some splash plays just like he did this year. And I'm excited for his opportunity because he's earned the opportunity. He played a lot of football for us this year and played on some big stages. And so now he's just getting that chance to start and do it. Now, he did start one game. We played 2 quarterbacks in one game to start the game. But he's going to have that opportunity now, and the team's so excited for him, and it's not going to be all about him. We got to be really good around him too.
Yeah, we'll take one down here to my left.
Coach Doeren, you mentioned towards the beginning of the month a few weeks ago, or maybe pondering the idea of chasing a bourbon, chasing the Pop-Tart with a bourbon if y'all win this game. Is that still on the radar?
Well, yeah, 100%.
You have a bourbon of choice in mind?
Well, where's my buddy at? We had some Kentucky Owl that made an appearance yesterday, so we'll see if it can travel. But I'm all about the brown sugar Pop-Tart and a bourbon maybe at the end. We'll see.
More questions from the room? All right, we've got one in the middle in the aisle.
Isn't it funny that, like, the stupidest stuff we say is what I get asked about all the time? Like, no one wants to ask about Brennan Armstrong or Peyton Wilson. It's just they want to know about the bourbon and the Pop-Tart.
This question is for the both of you. How do you balance, Coach Klieman, you talked about being a developmental program. How do you balance preparing for a game like this, a bowl game like this, and also developing your players for the future seasons in bowl prep?
You know, the way the calendar lays out, once your season's over, you're on the road. And so then on weekends, we bring the guys back together and practice. And, you know, for the first couple weekends, we brought them back and we did nothing but K-State versus K-State and development and giving those kids that have been on scout team the entire year the opportunity to play an offense and to play defense and just let them go and let them learn. And we continue to do that almost every day leading up to yesterday when we had our last practice of it's the inexperienced guys, whether or not they're freshmen and redshirt freshmen, whatever, and they just got to play K-State against K-State because you have to do that. Those guys are the heart and soul of your team, and for 12 weeks they're reading off a card, and that's hard to do. The season's long for those guys, so you got to give them some opportunities to continue to grow and get better and develop, so that we also know as coaches how far they've come along throughout the fall as we lean into the winter and the spring.
Yeah, we'll go to the back, and then we'll take one here on the right.
Coach Doeren, we talked to the players last week, and I found it so interesting that every single one of them felt it was so important for this 10th win, and they were so locked in. Obviously, a bowl experience is fun, but they all talked about how important this game was and just being locked in. What does that say about this group, especially just the road you guys have been on this year?
Yeah, we talked about being different, you know, at the beginning of the season and being different, what that meant, you know, different choices, different obligations, different sacrifices, and also, you know, a different ending. And we've been on the 9-win thing several times, and for the kids that are on our team that were a part of the Holiday Bowl that didn't get to play, you know, because of what happened, there's that extra motivation. You know, walking down to the team room for your final meal and finding out you don't get to play in a bowl game was pretty tough. And so to be back in the, you know, seat here with an opportunity to compete for that 10th win is meaningful. You know, I think with young people, sometimes they can't see past the day they're in. And so, you know, your job as a head coach is to preach the big picture as well. And at NC State, there's been one team in the history of the program that's won 10 games or more. And so this is an opportunity to be different than 136 other teams that played in this uniform. And so it's meaningful. And these guys understand that meaning and what kind of things have to go into preparing, you know, to do something that's different.
All right, we'll go to Chris on the right, and then we'll take one down here in the front.
Just for both of you, with the transfers and the opt-outs and Coach Klieman with Colin leaving, how has the preparations been for this particular bowl game and differences to what you were used to?
For us, it's been as normal, probably because of the routine that all these guys have been in for the last 3 years. Most of us have been together in 21, 22, 23, so I don't see it changing much. We're running the same offense. We're not changing that in midstream. And so the preparation's been very normal. Routine is really important, I think, for players and coaches alike. And so, you know, we're having some new kids getting some opportunities, just like Dave is. But those kids know the routine and they know the expectation. And that's the key thing is the standard and the expectation's not changing. We're preparing to go try to win a football game, and we know we're going against a great opponent, and we've got to execute at a high level, and so we better execute during practice at a high level if we want to on Thursday night.
Yeah, I think for us, you know, it was more of the depth of the roster that really took the toll. You know, we've been able to really two-platoon our scout teams even with the roster that we had going into the season, and so when you lose, you know, 20-some guys, it changes your scout teams a lot. They weren't starters really for us. There was one starter, you know, so that changed. You know, it was that part of it. So we had to be smart. Similar to Coach, we have the same routine. The guys hit the ground running. The guys that got reps that weren't were excited. And we had to slow things down at times just to water the scouts down, and because we couldn't sub them, you know. And so sometimes we'd be, you know, in 1 hour practice that might take an hour and a half just because we took a few more breaks just to let the look teams get rested and be able to run around and give us the looks we needed.
All right, we'll go down in front here, one on the right, and then back to the platform again.
Coach Doeren, you've had a couple new true freshmen work their way into the two deep. How helpful is this stretch of practice for evaluating your freshman class, and what have you seen out of them?
Yeah, it's been great. The rule change that was a great rule change, allowing the bowl game not to count as one of the 4 games that they can play in as freshmen has been huge. I think with the opt-outs and, your normal guys that choose not to play, plus the portal, there was a huge reduction in numbers, and I know some teams probably wouldn't have been able to field the team if they couldn't do that. And so I thought that was a good rule change for our roster management. But, yeah, to be able to see, Kelvon McBride, for example, who's on the scout team now, get all these reps with the 2s at linebacker, it's been really good to see him running around. That's just one guy. Zach Myers, one of the DBs, same thing, got a ton of reps. And Zach played in 4 games on special teams. Kelvon didn't, so he got soaked in this bowl prep with Peyton not playing. We were able to elevate him and get him a ton of work and excited. It's a guy that's put on almost 25 pounds since he got here. He looks really good, and he's running around and making plays at practice. So it's, kind of a precursor to your off-season program. It allows you to sit down with a guy like you might after spring ball and tell him what you saw on film, where he can get better, and to be able to do it leading up to your off-season program, just to gain that window of improvement. And I think, for us, and Coach, I'm sure, developmental programs, there's meetings that take place that are really, really important meetings when you talk about developing a player. You identify their strengths, and then you have them talk about their weaknesses, and then you sometimes add more to that, and then you create a map for them on how these weaknesses can get improved, and that's the goal for each player, is to get better each opportunity, and you have to give them the information, and if you don't have the practice opportunities, you can't give it to them, and that's where bowl games are so important for teams. Teams that don't go to bowls have a major disadvantage, in my opinion, when it comes to the development of the roster.
All right, we'll go to the right, and then back to Shane.
I got one question for both of you. For Chris, without Ben and Phil out there, it seems like there will be quite a few new targets available for receivers. Can you tell us if there's anybody you're really looking forward to getting that opportunity there? And then for Dave, after Chris is done, I was wondering if you could rack your brain and tell me if there's any one memory you have of a game when you've been on the other side playing against Kansas State that kind of stands out in your mind.
Well, we're excited about Garrett Oakley. I mean, Oaks had a really good season behind Ben as a backup tight end. He was injured early on in the season and has really come on. Big athletic guy that can really run, and he's a redshirt freshman, and really excited about him. Swanee will play more plays. Will Swanson will play more. And then, it's allowed us to probably move Jace into the slot a little bit more for Phil. Seth Porter is going to return punts. He's going to play in the slot. I mean, Seth's a 6-year guy that K-State means everything to him, and I'm excited for Seth in his last college football game to get an opportunity to be a slot for us and play some meaningful snaps as well as return for us. But, that's it's no different than having an injury, the next man up. But those guys are prepared for the moment, and it's not like, all these practice reps. Ultimately, you want to use those practice reps, and so I think the preparation that these guys have had, with Oakley and Seth and some of those other guys, I'm excited for them because they're ready for the moment.
So the question again was,
Yeah, you've coached against Kansas State before, or at least been on staff that have. Is there any one game that kind of stands out to you?
so my 4 years at Kansas, I got to witness a lot. Unfortunately, I was on the receiving end of Darren Sproles, and being a linebacker coach, defending him, man, what a great player. And that was kind of the first year we were there. I think they beat us 63-0. And by the time I had left, 4 years later, we had gone from worst defense in college football to the #1 defense in college football. And I don't remember the score of the game, but I know we won, and that was a huge accomplishment. Our head coach, Mark Mangino, worked under Bill Schneider, so there was a lot of respect. And I know that was a big moment for him. So I was proud to be a part of that turnaround with Coach Mangino and a part of that rivalry. It was a great rivalry then, and I know it probably still is. I mean, that was a huge, huge game. A lot went into it.
All right, we'll go to Shane in the back.
This is for Coach Klieman. North Carolina State fans have a little less to travel, but after your long plane ride here, you're still in Big 12 country. What do you expect from the local fans? Cheer down the conference line or get a little grief since you beat UCF this year?
Well, it's crazy that you say we're in Big 12 country. But you could go out to California and be an ACC
That's right.
country. So, you know, it's the landscape of college football. I look at it, and there's two really good football teams that consistency is what I think of when I think of Kansas State and North Carolina State, and probably underrated, probably not recognized enough about what the programs have been able to do and sustain. And that's the biggest challenge in college football right now, is sustaining success with all the things that we've been talking about. And so, no, I'm excited. I know that K-State fans will travel. I know it's a closer trip for NC State, but K-State fans will travel, and it's going to be a loud and fun environment.
All right, we'll take one here on the aisle, and we'll go to the back again, and down in front. That's probably all we have time for.
Coach Klieman, I know a lot of the fifth-year, sixth-year guys. How do you just kind of keep the emotions in check, right? Some of their last games, some might go on to the NFL. How do you, as a coach and other players, just try to keep those emotions in check, obviously knowing what's on the line?
Yeah, it happens like this every year, you know, with emotions in check, like it was the last couple of years we had with Skylar Thompson, and last year with Deuce Vaughn, and this year there's another crew, and you know, I'm enjoying that time. I mean, I've had more fun on this trip with those offensive linemen. I mean, BB and I have given each other more grief. Gilly and I have had a blast on things. You know, KT had a great message to our team yesterday. Watching him grow from when I first got here, and he was a red shirt, and he'd tell you he was a knucklehead. And that guy is a grown man and a very mature guy, and sets the example for all of our younger guys to live up to now. And so I'm taking it all in. I'm enjoying the heck out of those guys because they're why we're here. You know, you think of where we were as a program after the pandemic, and it was a tough year. 2020 for a K-State fan wasn't a whole lot of fun. And they changed the culture in that locker room beginning in 2021. And, you know, we won a Big 12 championship last year and won 10 games with those guys. And that's why it's so important for us to honor those guys Thursday night by going out there and playing our tails off and trying to get a big win for those guys playing their last game, because they've given so much to K-State.
All right, we'll go to the back, and then we'll wrap up front.
For both coaches, you know, both teams win so many games. Just kind of briefly talk about what it is that the other team does so well, and what's the biggest thing that you've learned doing your homework on the other team.
Well, our defensive staffs have been together. They did some clinicking together as recently as last year, so I think there's a little bit of familiarity on both sides. Physical defenses, guys will run and hit you on their defense. They are very athletic. You don't get explosive plays on these guys. So we're going to have our hands full in that respect of just trying to sustain drives because that's what we've been. We've not been a big play team. We've been a sustained drive team, so that's a concern. And then offensively, a veteran quarterback, a lot of different personnel groupings that they've got really good skill kids and really good up front, and trying to keep the explosive play to a minimum. And they've been able to get some explosive plays, and that's probably been the area that we've struggled a little bit this year. And so that's the challenge for us, is try to find a way to get one or two on offense and try to prevent them on defense.
Yeah, carbon copy defenses. Obviously, the coordinators probably have their style, but their staff on defense does a great job. And schematically, I think, you know, we're both built the same way. And you talk about the disguises that you can present, trying to get quarterbacks to not be able to know what's happening until after the snap. The ability to play, you know, some coverage zones that help out in the secondary with a lot of eyes that can come back and make plays and tackle. And then the movements and the pressures and the disruption that can come out of these schemes. And I know when we made the switch to it, it's everything that we thought it would be. And obviously, Coach sent his staff out to be a part of it with us, and it's helped them. You know, when you watch them on offense, a lot of blocking schemes, you know, they do a really good job. not just with their personnel up front, but the physicality and the angles, the different, pulling schemes that you see, the way that they try to get guys hats for the quarterback and extra blockers and formations you have to adjust to, the play actions that come off of it. And just, when you look at these two teams, we're plus 11 in turnover margin, they're plus 10. It's two teams that know how to steal the ball back and protect it. And as always, that's the most important stat in football, and I think when you get into these bowl games, that's always what I worry about, are the things that sometimes in a gap like you have between your last game and your bowl game, just the little fundamentals and taking care of the football and your special teams are so important. And I think you have two really fundamentally sound football teams, and when you get out on the field now with the new pieces, how do they all come together? But it's going to be a fun football game, for people that like this sport. You're going to see two really well-coached, hard-playing teams that fight, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
All right, we'll wrap up front here.
Coach Doeren, you mentioned Brennan earlier. What's it been like for you to see him have this week and tomorrow's game with everything he's gone through this year?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't be happier for anyone than Brennan. What he went through, how he responded, the type of human being that he was to his teammates during that time, and then the way that they rallied around him when he took the ball back to run the football, run the team, the way that he's played through, some pain, and the guy's just a warrior, and he's a great teammate. And just to see the joy that he's had, not just in these last 5 weeks, but, at UVA, they didn't get to go to bowl games for a while because they had some things, with COVID where they didn't play, and then obviously the tragedy, and, so it's been some years. I think the last bowl game he was in was the Orange Bowl. And so he's excited just to be in a postseason game, and it's been fun watching him interact with the guys, and, can't say thank you enough to him for what he's meant to this football team and the way that he's held not just himself together, but these guys on our offense and the way that the team's rallied around him. It's been a joy to watch and be a part of.
All right, thank you both. We appreciate your time
Thank
this
you,
morning.
guys.
Good luck tomorrow.